Welcome to Nasdaq TradeTalks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me for this segment, we have Francis Aderhold, sustainable investing research analyst at Fiduciary Trust International, to discuss investment themes related to the energy transition, which is expected to attract $4 to $6 trillion of investment capital each year in the coming decades. Francis, it's great to have you with us. Welcome to Trade Talks.
Thanks so much for having me, Jill.
You got it. Your firm recently published a report about investment opportunities tied to the energy transition. Tell us about the focus of the report and why it matters for investors.
Yeah, so the energy transition is a theme that's relevant for all investors. It represents an economic transformation that will cover the entire economy, and it's already underway today. As a wealth management firm, we work with high net worth individuals and institutions to help build investment portfolios to meet our clients' needs and our clients' objectives. And our clients already are seeing this theme show up in their portfolios, but increasingly they're also looking for more dedicated exposure to the theme. We recently published a report called Plugging into the Energy Transition in order to explore some of the risks and opportunities related to the theme, to also showcase some innovations and business models that we think will be attractive for investors in the near and long term, and also to gain a better understanding of the growing landscape of strategies that are focused on the theme.
Why is the energy transition such a prominent focus at the moment?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, we're really at the start of this multi-decade transformation of the economy. And as you mentioned at the top, the energy transition, it's expected to, really bring in $4 to $6 trillion annually of investment capital. And by 2030 could generate $9 to $12 trillion in annual revenues. And this is something that's going to cover the entire economy and cover all sectors of the economy. Today, this theme is really driven by what we see as three major market drivers. The first is the low cost of renewables. Over the last decade, wind and solar have really become the cheapest form of electricity in many parts of the world. The second is significant global policy support, notably the Inflation Reduction Act that was passed last year in the US, and also increasing corporate commitments and consumer demand for cleaner alternatives. So we really think that this theme will be driven by private capital that is seeking competitive rates of return.
What are some of the themes you're exploring in your research?
Yeah, so the energy transition really covers the entire economy, and it's really about finding solutions that not only help to reduce emissions, but also capture and remove carbon. And so we focused in this report on three major shifts to kind of understand this theme. The first is greening the grid, so really focusing on cleaning up power supply through a massive build out of renewable infrastructure, notably wind and solar, but also increasingly energy storage assets, and also building a more modern and digital grid system. The second is the electrification of almost everything. Almost everything that runs on fossil fuels today needs to run on electricity, and this is obviously a very large and broad opportunity set. And the third is industrial decarbonization. So really looking at, recognizing not everything can be electrified. We will need other solutions such as carbon capture or alternative fuels such as green hydrogen to help us decarbonize heavy industry and heavy transportation, and then also remove carbon from the atmosphere for the rest.
How will the energy transition impact investors now and over the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, so as with any long-term, this is a multi-decade transformation, three decades, it can be very uncertain to know which technologies are going to win out over that long term. But it's important to note that today we do have technologies and solutions that are ready to be deployed. And in the report, we really looked at the risk return, opportunities across the risk return spectrum. So from proven technologies that are cost competitive today and ready to be deployed at scale, to enabling technologies that can help us continue to drive down costs and improve efficiencies, to business models that help to target specific niche markets, and finally recognizing, there are some early stage technologies that need more long-term patient capital to help us reduce emissions over the long run. But really over the next decade, we believe we should place priority on some of these market-ready solutions that can help us reduce emissions today.
And Francis, what should investors consider when building a portfolio that incorporates the energy transition theme?
Yeah, that's a great question. Investing in the energy transition, again, I've spoke about it a few times, but it's a long-term trend. And so you really need to have a long-term view as this theme grows. And I want to reiterate, it's something we're already starting to see as it's touching every sector of the economy. And it's something that investors should be aware of and integrate them into their investment decision making. Whenever you're investing in targeted strategies, it's also more thematic strategies. It's important to understand what type of risk return profile you're getting with them. Strategies that are focused on climate solutions do tend to have higher volatility and exposure to high growth names, and also may be concentrated in specific sectors. So risk mitigation, portfolio diversification, and manager selection are really key to help mitigate and manage some of these risks when you're incorporating them in your portfolio.
All right, Frances, we appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.